Hello, welcome to this video. And on this video, I am going to be discussing the death of musical instrument shops. If you're a musician, you realize that for most of our lives, these shops have been places of sort of magical wonder. They have been places of education. They have been places of community. The music instrument shop has been a very special institution, and it is now pretty much dead. I'm going to explore why it's dead. I'm going to go into the ramifications, both good and bad, of it being dead. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the state of the music industry, but the aspect of the music industry that never gets talked about, which is the musical instrument end of the music industry. So, the music business, the sort of normal music business, as we would call it, is dying. The labels are slowly dying away. Music is now being a commodity which is used to sell advertising on the internet. The album's pretty much going, people stream stuff. They don't know about the artists. They don't really care about what musicians play on it, blah, blah, blah. Musicians are finding alternative ways of getting their music out there. They own the means of distribution now, so they don't have to have a record company to pay for their recordings. They don't have to have a record company to distribute their stuff. So the industry has changed massively. If you're objective about it, stand back and say, well, is this good or bad? It's both good or bad. There's good and bad in this. One of the things that's interesting is I think that for most of human history, if we look at the world of music, music was a thing that people did. Right, you got involved in music, right? If you were listening to music, you would have been listening to your friends or somebody in your local tavern performing music. Or if you were part of the elites, you may have been sat in a beautiful, stately home listening to some musicians who were paid to be there to perform the music to you. And the music that you would be reading off the page would be music that has been seen to be culturally elitist. It would have been proper music. And so, that's the whole of human history, whether it's people in Africa do communal drumming and all that type of stuff, whether it's the flamenco people in someone's kitchen talking about, stamping their feet and strumming their guitars aggressively and talking about kittens being thrown at their head. I once had a documentary on flamenco and I looked at the subtitles. This bloke said at one point, "Stop throwing kittens at my head." It might have been a mistranslation, but we will move on from that. It's the side that may have been slightly entertaining at the beginning of this video, which for some might seem a little bit boring, but this won't be boring. It won't get the views, because I know it won't. But I tell you why I've decided to do this talk is because a chain of music shops here in the UK that has been a big part of my life has gone under. But we'll get to that in a little bit. With the advent of commercial music, recorded music, the music industry, the recording music industry at the first half of the 20th century, suddenly the whole dynamic changed. And the same thing was seen in the world of cinema. What you have now is these huge organisations with huge budgets that create music, and we don't necessarily get involved in music making. We sit there like passive listeners and go, I've bought the new Beatles album and I'm putting it on and I'm listening to the new Beatles album. Oh, I really do like it. I really do like it. When I get old and middle-aged, I hope there's a YouTube video where we could talk about how much we liked all this stuff, just being these passive listeners. We can celebrate these little artifacts that they sent out. We are here celebrating that on this channel. We are celebrating the dynamic of the artist and the listener. I talk about artists and I talk about how they relate to us, the listeners. But the anomaly here is I'm not a listener, am I? I am a musician. I'm involved in music every single day and I listen to music every single day. But me, at this point in time, most of the music I'm listening to is music I am working on. It is music I'm involved in making or I'm thinking about making, right? All my life, I have been a music creator. I have earned my living from doing that and been very lucky because it's about the best thing you can do. I love making music. It's wonderful. There's so many positive attributes to it that I won't list them here. We all know this. And as the recorded music industry, as that sort of Mount Olympus, and the surf's dynamic is destroyed, that's what's going. That is fundamentally what is going. That is what we're lamenting, right? But what you find is your involvement as a listener is changing due to the internet. Your engagement in it is becoming far less passive. Even if you are still a listener, what you are doing in your appreciation of music is coming to a channel like this, and I will do the 10 greatest albums beginning with F or something like that, and you'll sit and watch it and you'll judge it and you'll put your comments on, or you'll go away and think about it and you'll chat to your friends. You realise it's not entirely passive, and some of you might be musicians and you might join a community. Here there's communities all around this YouTube now. I'm very proud of them. There is the community that exists over on my patrons. My patrons, there's the free lot, right? They don't pay me anything. There's a load of them, skinflints, but they are there supporting me. They're still supporting me, but there's a community there. And the paid members, that's even the better community, because not because they pay me, but because they then get access to my Patreon, Andy Edwards Patreon discussion group on WhatsApp. And that has become a community in itself. I never go in there anymore. They don't want me in there. They don't like me there anymore. They've moved on. Every time I go in there, criticising me. They think I don't know. They are in there. Oh, do you see what Andy said? I didn't agree about that. Right, that's what they're like now. And they share their own music and they share other music they listen to. They have become involved in something that they could never have got involved in the old way of just going down to your record shop, buying a record, taking it home, listening to it, then have no one to talk to. Mom, can I talk to you about this Van de Graaff generator? No, shut your face. I'm doing the dinner. Mom, I'm not too sure that I like Van de Graaff generator. I don't know what to make of them. Can you have a listen to it? Of course I'm not going to bloody listen to your stupid Van de Graaff generator album. Why have they named themselves after that? I used to be a lab technician, I know all about Van de Graaff generators. Not the band. You know about that funny glass thing that is the actual... No, that's not the glass thing. That's a balloon. What's that one called? The glass thing with the two round balls and then the thing at the bottom. I had one of those in my bedroom, and I always think of that when I think of Van de Graaff generator. No, the Van de Graaff generator is the metal thing and you put it on and the girls in the 70s, their hairs all lift up. Yes, that's the one. Right, that's about the best you were going to get in the 70s, wasn't it? That was about the best you were going to get. Nearly went off on a tangent then. So, forgot where I was now on this epic tirade against... whatever I'm against today, it'll be something I don't like. So, we're all involved in it, and they're okay, I'm back on track. And so also there's other communities. I've created a membership, so I've got the membership. They're not really a community, but they get to see stuff early. But I could create a community after them, I just haven't bothered yet. I think there will be one there. There's another community here that is a very strange one. It's the ones who watch my premieres. Every now and then I sit there and I watch their conversation. This is really bizarre. What are they talking about? They're not talking about me, right? And there's people in there that seem to hate my guts. So they think, oh, Andy's doing that again. Oh, he knows nothing about this. He knows nothing about that. He's no good, he is, Andy. I know, I can't stick him. I don't know why I come here every day. Neither do I. He's always off to something. I know, he's always talking rubbish, isn't he? Yeah, and he's got a stupid sense of humour. I don't like it. I'm a serious person and I want my music talked about properly. Yeah, I know. He's never done a video on the British jazz fusion band Isotope, has he? I know. What is he playing at? So I see all that going on. Everybody's engaged. But within this, there are loads of musicians. There's loads of musicians watching this site. This is why I do these videos for you. Because I wanted you to see the industry in a different way, using my sort of age and experience of being in the industry. I want to pass that on to you if you want to hear it. Because there's a solution here. I am going to get to something here. We are... now in the new age where we are going to be much more involved in music making, and I believe with the advent of AI, non-musicians will be creating music using AI, and that will become a commodity in itself, right? And it doesn't matter what us musicians say, whatever elitist snobbery we come up with. I've worked many years to become a musician. I mean, I don't like all that jazz fusion and prog Andy likes, but I've learnt at least 8 chords on the guitar, and I can even play a bar chord, and that makes me better than you. I also nailed the rock pentatonic, and I can pull off a guitar solo if I want, as long as it doesn't change key and it's in the minor, and I can play my blues licks over it. And you should respect that knowledge that I have. And this AI that can just turn up anything, it's a disrespect to the work I've put in to create my songs that have 3 chords and a load of lyrics that don't make sense. I think it's not right. And the thing is that what I've just lampooned there is the very thing that is challenging what the musicians are saying. I go on YouTube, I watch them all, Rick Beato, Adam Neely, and I'm sat there thinking, well, I'm justified to come on because none of these have actually understand it. None of these understand what's going on. They are all too wound down in their little hole of the way the music works. Adam Neely's stuck in his sort of elitist New York jazz scene, and Rick Beato being a bloke my age that has made his living by producing like what sounds like, various grunge influenced bands, and they all want it to go back to that. There's no point in them lying. They all want that to go back. They don't want any people making their cruddy records in their bedroom with their own doors. They don't want people going on AI. We don't want Spotify full of AI tracks. The people don't know. Now, I have argued on here that if you want to counteract that, you're going to have to get elitist. And the trouble with rock music is it doesn't like elitism because of the postmodernist identity aspects of rock music, which are wound straight into it. So you can't not like elitism and then not like AI, because AI is way past punk in terms of democratization of creativity. And if you want to shout to me that there's no creativity there, we can have that discussion, but I don't, because I want to talk about music instrument shops being shut down and the effect that. But hopefully in these first 10 minutes, I've created a complex, twisty, turny, culture, which is in a morphing evolution at the moment, and nobody knows what's going on. And the old people, the old guard are like going, I don't get this, can we just hold on to it? And the other people are going ahead because they don't really care about music like we do. We've got that, right? Now here in the UK, there was a chain of music shops, and I'm going to celebrate them on this video. That is one of the sort of reasons why I'm doing this. And I'm going to take the hit in views to celebrate, what was it called? Percussion Music Technology? PMT. I can't even remember what it stood for. In the old days I could. I think it's Percussion Music Technology, or it could be Performance Music Technology. But anyway, these chain of shops has been known as the abbreviation PMT, right? Now, the two shops I knew well was the one in Birmingham, of course, and the one that was in Northampton. And I want to talk about those two shops on this video because when I heard that they are going into administration, right, these are huge shops. And I couldn't help but thinking all the musicians I've known who've taught there, all the musicians that teach there now, all the gear I've bought from there, all the events I've been involved with. It was a whole bunch of memories. And when I thought this, I thought, my God, there was a time when I was up there all the time. And now, I haven't been up there for years. In fact, I think I haven't been up to a PMT shop for over a decade. PMT. Let's give them a wave goodbye, British musicians. You all know what PMT represents. Rest in peace, PMT. Unfortunate abbreviation, really, wasn't it? How many men spent an afternoon up there buying something with money that they didn't really have and worrying on the way back home that their wife might be suffering with PMT and have a go at them for buying yet another guitar, right? And by PMT, I don't mean premenstrual tension. I mean purchase of musical instrument trauma. I just paused the video then, and you notice it. I've been sat here for about 20 minutes trying to come up with that one, and that's the best I could do, right? Was it worth it? How many comedians have to do a pause halfway through to come up with a punchline? None, because they know what they're doing. Oh, anyway, you know what I'm saying, right? Well, I have spent many a Saturday wandering around that place, looking at guitars, looking at basses, wandering up to the drum department, seeing whoever was on the drum desk. I always knew them. If I didn't know them, I could go in there and let them know who I am. Right? Oh, my name is Andy Edwards. Oh, yeah, I'm a drummer. Oh, yeah, I've played in various bands. Oh, yeah, various bands, What sort of bands you been in? Like tribute bands or something? No, I play for Robert Plant. Oh, Robert Plant, really? Oh, big head. Bloody big head. So that has been many a Saturday afternoon of me there, hoping that I would be able to get something maybe a little bit knocked off. Need some drumsticks, maybe some felts, maybe a set of strings, bump into a couple of mates, have a chat. PMT was a big shop, usually had everything you wanted. Let's get into what this means to me, PMT. In Birmingham, the big shop was called Musical Exchanges, and this is where you could take your instrument in and you could swap it for something else if you wanted, as well as buying all the gear. And that was my main shop. If I'm really honest, throughout the 1980s, that's where I got to get my drum stuff. And it moved around, and it had different floors. And upstairs was the drum department. And in there, I knew those guys. And often, if I went to get a drum head, for example, I could take my snare drum up. And if there wasn't anybody, and not only because I'd buy the drum head, but those guys who knew everything about bloody drums would swap the drum head around, and they could tune them better than me. So I'd get it tuned, and I'd get it, you know, they'd, oh, you got to get that sorted out to get it. And they'd help me out, you know. They'd help me out if I needed something. I could go in and say, I'm trying to do this now. If we go back to the late 90s, I can remember going up to Musical Exchanges, and I'd sold my drum kit, and I'd never been happy with my drum kit. And I can remember going into there and saying to the guy, I've got some gigs, I'm sort of a pro drummer, but I need a drum kit. I couldn't afford a top end drum kit. And they said, grab yourself one of these. And for about 500 quid, I bought a Yamaha Stage Custom. That kit was amazing. And I do believe someone came on the in the comments section of a year or so ago, because I've mentioned this kit before, and they said they still own this kit. Oh, God, you lucky person. I want it back. I want it back. That kit was a lovely kit, you know. Maybe I'm looking at it through rose-tinted spectacles, but it sounded amazing. Those guys, they can't do that online, can you? When Exchanges closed down, a lot of those guys then decamped over to PMT. They were the new kids on the block back then. And PMT got involved in a big drum festival called Drumfest. Now, this is in the days before the internet. So if somebody wanted to see somebody playing the drums and doing a whole ton of soloing, they didn't have it at the end of their fingertips. They never saw anything like that. So drum clinics were a big deal. And when I did start playing with Rock Platinum back in 1998, 99, I got approached by Tama, and Tama signed me up as an endorsee. And so I basically was loaned a kit, which I use on the Robert Plant gigs with a big Tama logo up, so that people could see that I was playing Tama, in the hope it would, you know, just place that product into the minds of some of the musicians that might be there. The guy that was working there, that was looking after the artists that were endorsed back then, was an incredible man called Mark DeClute. Now, Mark DeClute was the drummer in EMF. He's a great drummer himself. And we became very good mates. And he suddenly realized I was a teacher, that I could talk and I could play the drums. And so they signed me up as Tama's UK clinician. So that means when they brought a big guy in like Simon Phillips, I would go in and open up for that. And this was an incredible experience for me, because suddenly I was hobnobbing with some of the greatest drummers in the whole world and getting up to do drum solos in front of an audience, thinking about drum education, but also trying to put a clinic together that was reasonably entertaining. And a lot of what I do here, some of that has its roots not only in my college teaching, but in the idea of getting up in front of what back then for a drum clinic could well be 1,000 people. 2005 came along, and Drumfest, which was the biggest drum event in the UK, I decided I wanted to play, and I wasn't quite at the level to be playing Drumfest, right? The lineup that year was Terry Bozzio, Thomas Lang, Greg Bisonet, Adrian Earlison, who was the drummer with Cradle of Filth, who were huge at the time, and Russell Gilbrook, who is currently the drummer with Uriah Heep. They needed someone to go on the bottom slot. They really needed someone. And so Tama wanted me to do it, but I was having problems getting noticed by the guys at PMT, because there was a guy called Craig Glover that organised it. And I got a phone call from them, and they said, do you want to come up and see a drum clinic we're doing up in the shop? So I went up to see it. It was a drummer called Mark Schulman, who's famous for drumming with Pink, and he's played for Cher and Velvet Revolver and a whole bunch of other people. Mark Schulman is an absolute drum legend. And I went up to see it, and I got chatting with Mark afterwards, which was great. And then from there, I thought, maybe if I did a clinic here first, they might see what I do and might book me for a Drumfest. Tama are up for pushing it, but they don't really want me on if they can get someone a little bit more well known. But they'll push me. I was endorsed to Minor Cymbals at the time, and I wasn't too happy with Minor Cymbals. I would love to be endorsed to them now. They make some of the best cymbals around. But back then, I couldn't quite get my sound. I've always been fussy with cymbals. The fact that I play Dream cymbals now, and I love those cymbals, is a testament to how great Dream are, because I am very fussy with my cymbals. So, where were we? So I go after this Mark Shulman thing. I said, I'll do a clinic here. And they said, how much money? I said, I'll do it for absolutely free. Just let me do it, see what happens. So they give me a date to do it. And then I started to market it. I marketed the hell out of it. And when I turned up to do that clinic, I brought in 120 people into that shop. And straight after it, they said, you want to do Drumfest? And to do Drumfest for me and play alongside Terry Bozzio and Thomas Lang and Greg Bisonet and Bill Bruford came to watch us play on that gig and a whole bunch of other stuff. That is one of the high points of my drum life. Some of you may have seen me back in 2005 in the UK. On that, there were 2 shows. I think there was about 600 people at the first show, and there was nearly 2,000 at the second show. That's 2,500 drummers seeing me. And that put me on the map as a drummer. That's all down to PMT. We then went off and did a clinic tour with the great Kenny Aranoff, and I opened up for him on the tour that following week. That was all down to PMT. Drummers would come and do clinics in there. I can remember going up and having an afternoon with Craig Blundell in PMT. I have a friend called Alex Thomas. And Alex Thomas is a fantastic drummer who came to prominence playing for Bolt Thrower and then got the gig with Badly Drawn Boy, and is currently, I believe, playing with John Cale, the Welsh multi-instrumentalist from the Velvet Underground, as well as doing a whole bunch of other stuff. And Alex is a fantastic drummer. And when he signed up to Tama, I did a couple of clinics with him, and I got taken over to do a clinic at the Northampton PMT. I'd done quite a few there, and when I did the clinic gig, the guy, one of just the little kids that was behind the desk, right, serving people, came up and said, any chance I could have a go on the drums? And I said, yeah. He got up, and me and Alex are going, you could do this bloody clinic, you're ridiculous. Guy called Leo Crabtree. I hooked up with Leo Crabtree. He booked a lesson in. We chatted about music industry, and I don't know whether some of the chat I had about Leo actually helped him, because he did follow some of the things I said, and he eventually got the gig with the Prodigy. He then booked me on a clinic in another music shop down south, and the last time I saw Leo properly, we went down, he was finishing up his job as A&R. He'd replaced Mark DeClute as A&R for Tama, but he'd got the gig with Prodigy, and we had a nice, I haven't chatted to Leo for a long time, and I would love to get in contact with him. In fact, I would love to have him interviewed on this show. So if anybody's got any contacts with Leo, poke him my way. I played tribute to Leo the other day on a video where there was a little bit of an esoteric hidden message. If you watch the useless musicians that just happen to be friends with the band, all the way through that, when I got to talking about the Prodigy and saying about how those 2 guys didn't do much, which is unfair. It was a joke. I'm joking, right? I love the Prodigy. Is there a pigeon doing something out there? So in the background, all the way on the wall, was a picture of Leo. And when I got to this sort of criticising the Prodigy, he came and came towards the camera in a sort of ghostly-like way, in a little bit like how Dumbledore puts a spell on that place, so when you enter, he comes towards you and frightens you. And that was him, just going, yes, Andy, but I can play. I really can play, and I played drums with Prodigy. That was the esoteric meaning. I've told you now. So I played a little bit of a tribute to Leo. All this is down to PMT. All these shenanigans, all these crossovers, all these other things. And when I was doing clinic tours, I'm sure I played PMTs all over the country. I'm sure there's people who worked in PMTs. Then I remember you coming here with Kenny Aranoff, or I remember you doing something with Tama. I remember you coming over here with Mark DeClute. There was a community around this, a community that when you had the drum show down in London, we'd all go down and you'd end up with the guys from PMT, right? This community, which had knowledge, had wisdom, had, the fact that a kid could go up there and say, look, I'm just starting to play the drums, what shall I get? And they would guide you there. And musicians are anarchists. Everybody who works in those shops were musicians. They would never have done what was right for the music instruments manufacturers or the shop. They would have told you the truth. They just would have. That's what musicians are like. You don't want to get that guitar. Well, yeah, it's too expensive, mate, and there's no bloody stone better, you know. I can remember going up to one of the PMTs with my friend's kid who was 12 wanting a guitar. We ended up buying a Yamaha Pacifica. And it wasn't the most glamorous of the guitars, but the guy was right. He said, try this one out. It's next to nothing. I've got one here. A Yamaha Pacifica. It just does the job. It's always in tune, plays great, sounds great. I think I got mine second hand, you know, from a music shop. I think I got it about 70 quid. They're amazing guitars. And I know that because some bloke who knew what he was talking about told me in PMT. Well, PMT's about to go. And why is it about to go? Let's move on to the next part of this video. Why is it going? It's because people buy online. Why are they buying online? Because they don't want to go out their house. They want to browse away online, find something that they want, click on it and get it. Right, so let's really get into people buying stuff. Now, I know about guitars, I know about basses, but I really know about drum kits, and I really know why people buy drum kits. Right, so let's tell you some facts about drum kit purchasing, right? I don't know how this works now, but back in my day when I was doing the clinics, I discovered that there was a thing called Keller drums. And Keller drums is a certain type of shell. When you bought a top-of-the-range drum kit for like 2,000 or 3,000 quid, that drum manufacturer had made those shells. But once you got down to the budget end, they didn't build the shells. They brought in generic shells, Keller shells. So all the sort of intermediate kits that everybody was buying were all the same bloody drum, right? They didn't tell you that, but that's the way it was, okay? Now, I believe that the quality of the wood and the quality of the drum and the bearing edge and all that bit doesn't really make that matter. The sound is going to be far more determined by the drum heads. I endorse Rebo drum heads and the hardware that's on that drum. And often with a good drum kit, it is the fact that the hardware is very good. It's solid. The tuning doesn't drop. It's held in. It's all even. But those are the things that make a drum kit good. So when you're looking at a drum kit, you might be examining it for quality. I'm going to bring one of my drums out here. Right, it's right next to me. I'm endorsed to British Drum Company. There we go. British Drum Company. And this is the tom off my drum kit. Any of you thinking that that is a wrap that's printed now, that's real wood. That is real, right? It's not all the way through. I think that's called spalted birch or beech or some wood. And basically what you're looking at there is a little sort of fungus that grows to that wood, gave to that incredible pattern. That's all real. Hardware, and this is absolutely beautiful. I got my Remo drum heads on it. British Drum Company. Needs a bit of a tune. I'll have a tune while we sit here and talk about it. So, let's get a nice sound out of this. Because the thing with drums is if you know how to tune, right, you have a reasonable idea of how to tune, then you should be able to get a better sound out of it. But nobody buys a drum kit because of what it sounds like. They don't buy them based on that. Right, most drum kits that are bought, even when people went to the shops, the people had never played, right? They don't play them. They buy them on what they look like. Kids go into a shop to buy a guitar. They buy them on what they look like. They don't sit down and play them. Now in a music shop, you can sit down and play the guitar. You could have sat there. They would let you sit there, play, you know, Stairway to Heaven for like half an hour till they got really fed up. Then they might kick you out there, but they never did. You could try that instrument out. But the thing is that most people are not buying their instruments based upon how good they are. They're buying them on what they look like. So the internet's great for that because then you can have more choice. This is always the problem, is that if you're like British Drum Company and you're making drum kits like this, they have drum kits with all sorts of finish. And so they can send a drum kit over. And what happens is they send the drum kit over, the shop buys the drum kit at trade. Then they stick their profit on top of it. Then they have to stick it in their shop and hope that somebody comes in. It takes up space. it gets old. So nobody buys it. It could have been no longer a new kit because they brought in something that superseded it. And the shop could well end up selling it off at a lower price, which only covered the cost of trade because it's now classed as second hand. Right? Oh, beautiful. And so it's difficult storing a drum kit. And then when the person comes in, they look at it, they go, oh, I quite like this kit. How much is it? Yeah. They don't do it in greed. And so you end up just ordering it anyway. Internet music shops, musical instrument shops don't have that problem. They can buy it in and send it out all in one go. And so they don't need the overheads. And so what happened at a certain point is that the shops, the internet shops were able to offer a drum kit, have these huge central warehouses, and basically the profit that they could stick on it was next to nothing. They were shipping out, a 500 quid kit, but they were probably only making £20 profit, but they were doing it in large numbers. Then rules were brought in to stop this from happening, but it's upset the apple cart, really. And then we start to get stuff coming in from China, which is ridiculously cheap. China can make stuff so cheap because basically they're not paying their workers very much. And so you have a situation now where I can remember going to a distributor, I won't mention who it is, and they said, come and have a look at this. And I went out and they showed me this kit. I sat down and played it. It sounded incredible, beautifully made, absolutely wonderful. And I said, what's this? They go, it's a Chinese drum kit. He said, we can't bring it in because, I said, why? He said, well, because that kit is 80 quid. And so people have had to maintain. There's a whole bunch of things going on like this. The shops can't compete because of this. They can't compete because people aren't interested in trying the thing out. They are interested in buying it what it looks like. And the internet companies can now just get into a situation of dropping their profit margins down. So you go on and you go, right, I want to buy this piece of gear. Who's got it the cheapest? Click on Google. They all come down and there's the cheapest. I'm going to get it from there. Bang, done. Can you hear that beauty now? It's in tune. Not quite. Nearly. Listen to the sustain on that. Still shaking a little bit. Hear that shimmy? See if we can get rid of that. There we go, straight through. This is the decay on that. Perfect. You can now stick all your gaffer tape over that and make it sound like this. So you might as well bought a cheap drum kit in the end anyway. And that's the problem, you see. This is the problem. I honestly cannot see how they could carry on. I have seen distributors going under. I've seen shops going under. Shops have tried to make their way by opening up tuition in there. They maybe be able to get by with that. But on the whole, the era of the music shop is over, right? Could this have been stopped? Well, I think this is a wider issue for retail anyway. Because people are going to buy stuff online, I think it would be much better for shops to develop into sort of an experience type of place. Musicians might have wanted to go and hang out at a music shop because there was other musicians there were people who know about stuff. And maybe the shops needed to expand what they did, small stage, people jamming, people chatting, having cups of tea and coffee, chatting to each other. A little bit more like Argos. And if you need something, you can just order it from there. It'll be there when you get home, or you can order it there, get it cheaper because you could go drive and pick it up from the shop. Maybe something like that would have kept people going if they could have marketed and sold the experience of being involved in the music industry. That is a really important thing because as much as people might be sat at home and they've ordered their guitar online and they've ordered their audio interface so they can now plug the guitar in the computer, and they've ordered their virtual guitar amp set up and they've got that running, and they've got Cubase and they've got their Instagram camera up, and they're doing their guitar solo they've worked on for about 4 weeks, and they've done it 150 times. And from that, they can edit all the best bars out because they can't get through it without making a mistake. But now they've edited it all out. It sounds amazing. Or maybe they'll edited it and then just mime along to it. All that stuff that's going on that has become modern music making, right? That can all be done from you're sat at home in your chair. You can see what things sound like. Once they're virtual, when you're not dealing with amps, you can't tell what an amp sounds like, off a video. You need to put it in the room and see what it sounds like. But virtual stuff you can. We're in a new realm, right? We're in a new realm. Do I have any answer? No, it's too late now. A couple of years ago, I think if the music shops had changed their remit and offered absolutely everything, and advice and brought in, I don't know, maybe, but that would have also required a ton of marketing, because nothing works in this world unless you market it. I think the idea of there being educational stuff for musicians, which is outside mainstream college education, where you have to go and live in a certain town for a certain amount of time and pay a whole ton of money to do a degree in something, that could have well become the thing that you offered for nothing to get the people in, and then make the money by having a deal for them, so they do get it cheaper by the internet, because maybe they're paying in £10 a month to be part of what is like a gym. Maybe rehearsal rooms and things like that needed to become more places of retail, and everybody tried to do it, but the problem is that it's full of old people, and they can't move. I saw it up close. They don't know how to move. They don't know what to do. They're scratching their heads down going, what do we do? They're so far away from understanding how this works. They really are. As you can see, my studio is absolutely wrecked at the moment. It's in a right state, a right mess it is at the moment. I'm changing it around. I'm going to have all my stereo records up there, and when I'm talking about records, I will be there, and I'm going to have the whole lot behind me, right? I'm going to have my studio over here, right, over this bit here. That's going to be my recording studio where it was. And over by the window, I'm going to put in a little stage so I can do concerts here. And what I want is I want this to be a music room, and I want to offer it to people, and I want to offer it to retail. I'm putting it out there. There's a reason why I moved to these drums. It's because they're absolutely amazing. But anybody who watches my channel knows that I am British through and through. Right? And so to be signed to British Drum Company, I'm very proud of, because they are keeping drum manufacturing alive. And this is like the bloody, I want to say the Rolls Royce of drum kits. It's not even the Rolls Royce. This is bloody top end stuff. This is, really is. What were those? Morgan, remember Morgan? Are they still going? Those sort of bespoke sort of English sports cars that you have to order, and they have to wait for like 2 years for them to build. Morgan, is it Morgan? They're like the Morgan of drum kits, these are, British Drum Company, right? And I want to be working with them, and I've messaged them, and I know they want to be working with me, but we never get anywhere. Dream Cymbals I'm endorsed to. I'm offering this to you right now. This is where the shop needs to be. Right, I am quite happy to do my videos here, and because I'm a drummer, I want to play the drums, and my endorsements, which are at the moment British Drum Company, I'm not saying because I'm going to move it, because I might be adding some more hopefully, but British Drum Company for my drums, Remo drum heads, which are the best drum heads. I tell you now, I've been through the lot. You can't beat Remo. They sound like drums, right? Because everybody who plays the drums plays Remo. That's not quite true. They play other ones as well. But what I'm saying is it's a standard one. I understand Remo. I understand what an ambassador is. I understand what a pinstripe is. Right? And I play Dream Cymbals. And I want to have those as almost like characters on this video, on this channel. And if anyone's local to me and they want to try something out, they're welcome to come over here. If I could sell some gear for these, because these guys have helped me out. I want to help them out. I'm saying it now. And I know the reason why it doesn't happen is because they are locked into their way of doing things at the moment. They're sat there having a meeting going, well, PMT, shut. Well, it didn't take that much gear. Maybe we should be doing this ourselves, blah, blah. They're having all those conversations, right? Wouldn't it be nice to have some drum events running here once I've got my stage in for British Drum Company? Would it be nice to have some drum kits brought down? Maybe a drummer, I mean, there's quite some incredible drummers playing British Drum Company. Maybe they want to come up over here and we could get an audience in and have a chat to one of them. I could interview them. Nico McBrain. He's retired though now, hasn't he? Oh, can you imagine Nico coming to the studio and us getting a whole ton of Iron Maiden fans, filming it for the channel and banging it out and bloody celebrating this bloody amazing stuff. If I don't get something from them now, I don't want anything British Drum Company. All I want is to get some events going on here. So the first thing you've got to do is, Tina and you lot, come up here and have a cup of tea. I see what, so once you see this place, once I've got it sorted out, you will love it. I've got PA in here, I've got recording studio, I've got everything. Absolutely everything. And I think we need that public face. We need somebody to see something in real life. We can't just go into our hovels, can we? We can't just go into our hovels and make our own little music. We need music's communal. And PMT played a huge part. And when I heard they were going under, I sat there thinking, oh my God. And I have only scraped the surface of the memories I've got of that place. Right? I can remember Craig Blundell showing me his testicle in PMT. It was shut, there was no members of the public in, and I'm not quite sure why he showed it to me, but he did, and that happened in PMT, didn't it, Craig? Why did he show you that? I tell you why, because musicians do stuff like that. And if you think that's bad, I am aware that Craig Blundell actually plays in a band with Nick Beggs. And I think the whole world and his dog has seen Nick Beggs' testicles. He's always getting them out. It's a thing musicians do. I've got mine out right now. You know, so there. No. And I'm not going to be able to have those wonderful memories of being able to see famous drummers' testicles up close because PMT is not here anymore. This is not right. I think I've done my bit here. I did make this, celebration of PMT. I do think that it's one of my most enjoyable videos. It seemed to be quite frivolous. I'll tell you why. Because I've got this thing called Sleep Tracker. I'm going to advertise them. I'm not even endorsed to them. The Sleep Tracker app. Download it. I've gone up to the sort of... it's called the Premiere Edition. It's incredible. It analyses your sleep, tells you when you've got to go to sleep, tells you not what to do. And the thing is, it records everything you're doing through the night. So every time I got probably snoring, you see. That's what's keeping me awake. But I can listen to the quality of my snoring. But it also records animal noises. It records any speech if you start talking in your sleep. It even records your farts and catalogues them. And I've got to be honest, being a creative person, to be able to be making something resembling music while I'm asleep, I find quite fascinating. I've now got a folder of my farts, and I'm thinking, well, I could release this on Bandcamp. Maybe I can monetize it. Maybe there's some people out there who are fans of the channel and go, well, I'll buy that album. I don't mind listening to Andy's farts. There's nobody who'll do that. It's not a good idea, is it? I'm just trying to monetize my farts. This thing's amazing. I've had such a good sleep. I slept 6.5 hours last night as opposed to the usual 3. I've woken up feeling brilliant. I've come in here, my sense of humour's on full blast. I feel great, I feel all positive. But I do lament PMT going. I feel all those people out there, all the people I know who work there, all the musicians I've met up there, all the equipment I bought there. This room's full of stuff that I got from PMT. Some of it I even bought. That's a joke, by the way. And British Drum Company, come over and hang out here. Let's see what we can do. Tina, I'm here for you. Let's see what we can do. Let's change this. Let's change the dynamic. There's no bloody shops anymore. Let's try and do something else. Like it. Subscribe to it. Go to my Patreon, link down below. Become a free member. Then get pulled into becoming a paid member. It's like a Ponzi scheme. Just get there now and do it. Go and down to my PayPal tip jar. Stick me a tip in for making you laugh if I did make you laugh. Come on, the joke that I stopped, the PMT joke. I've got to get at least £1 for that. Come on, you ungrateful people. Right? Go and become a membership in the channel. Go and do all the other things that I want you to do. Monetize me. Make me money. Support me. Love you all. See you on the next video.